Do you struggle with low self-esteem? Maybe you realize that you look back on your life and you've often sabotaged yourself just when something good was about to happen, almost like you were feeling like you're just not worth that good thing happening to or for you. I'm Roy Cutter. Welcome to my channel where I discuss ways to make life better, a little bit at a time, until the little snowballs into big progress. Small changes over time add up and they become life-changing. So back to the topic, right? For self-esteem, I'm going to share with you 4 ways that I've found that help, at least with my self-esteem, and help me to improve. Number 1, I've heard people say things like, well, you've got to do esteemable things. And that's a really important point, right? Sometimes they contrast that with another point, affirmations, right? And they're like, well, affirmations won't do any good. You gotta do esteemable things. Well, you do, right? Like, keep your word, treat people with respect. Important note on that, you're people too, so you should treat yourself with respect. Maybe you volunteer, maybe you donate to charities, just things that help others, that help you, that are in keeping with your values. If you're going against what your values are, that's a problem, right? So doing esteemable things is helpful, but is it enough, right? Well, not necessarily, because if you have negative self-beliefs, you may be sabotaging yourself kind of in the background. You don't even realize it's happening, right? And then you just stop doing the esteemable things, right? As it never feels good enough, or you feel like you're not good enough, right? If you have these terrible messages in the back of your head all the time popping up from your past, sometimes just doing the work isn't enough, right? You've got to add something onto it to counter that, which brings me to my second point, which is positive affirmations. This isn't just like, when I first started looking at this stuff, I didn't like it either. I'd read some sort of self-help sales books, and it was like, put a sticky on your mirror. I'm smart, I'm funny, I'm good looking, gosh darn it, people like me. Well, I guess telling yourself nice things is okay, right? But if you're just saying nice things and there's no other thought behind it than that, or hey, I'm so great, people will gravitate to me and I'll make a lot of sales, like you're trying to manipulate yourself in the universe. I don't find that to be super helpful for me. But what I do notice is if I can kind of find those negative beliefs that are kind of rumbling around back there, right? The conversation about that is often that there's this inner critic, right? Maybe you've got that you notice these messages spring up, right? Well, if I can deal with that by identifying those messages, challenging them, and then putting a positive message in place, I can kind of rewire my brain, right? And so our brains are kind of probably efficient is the right way to say it, right? It finds a path and it sticks on it, right? And it gets a little rut, kind of almost like it just does what works. Well, the problem is that's a survival instinct too, right? Like if this rut keeps me safe, I'm going to do it, right? And maybe those negative beliefs keep me safe, right? They keep me from trying too much and failing. They keep me from, they help me to self-criticize before you criticize me. Well, I go to say or do something and I think, oh, I better not do that. But I don't just say I better not do that. They might criticize me. I usually, heap on the self-criticism. And that way I kind of self-edit, which can be helpful, right? Like how do we fit into society and be relational is that can be a useful survival thing, but sometimes it gets in our way, right? And so if I find the negative messages, right, if I've got this underlying gnawing, like not worthy, then I need to rewire that, right? And if my brain's been working the way it's been working for me almost 50 years now, it takes a lot to challenge these things, right? And so I've heard somebody say that the brain is not good at addition and the brain is not good at subtraction and division, but it is really good at addition and multiplication. And they don't mean math and numbers. What they mean is I can add new thoughts in and I can expand on them, but I can't just take away my thoughts, right? So if I have these negative beliefs popping up and that critic is on my shoulder just berating me, right? I can't just say, well, don't think that way. It doesn't work. But I can insert a new way of looking at things. And so I use positive affirmations in that way. Now it's challenging because you have to admit the stuff out loud, and sometimes it's a little bit in the subconscious. Not always. Sometimes maybe you've done something small, some minor human error, dropped something and thought, what an idiot, or how stupid, or I screw everything up, right? Sometimes they're pretty obvious and they come out, but we just let that stuff go and just pass and just keep living that way sometimes. It doesn't even, sometimes we don't even bat an eye at these negative messages that are popping up. So what I'll do, sometimes I'll write them down and then try to find the opposite view. I am worthy. I don't mess everything up. I do a lot of things really well. I'm not dumb. I'm smart, right? Sometimes I think it's okay to qualify it. I don't know if others view it this way or not, but like if it's, hey, I'm talking about my doing esteemable things to tie into my first point, like I'm going to do, I'm a good person, right? I'm becoming a good person. I'm a good dad. I'm a good husband. I'm a good whatever, right? If I'm struggling with that, and everybody will, right? Nobody's perfect, but if I'm really blowing it and I am not living according to my values here and there, right? But I am working on improving. Maybe I can say something like, I am working on being a better father, a better husband. I do mess it up sometimes and I'm human, but I am taking steps to be accountable and to be better, right? So if it's hard to just say I am a good whatever it is, right? I'm working on it. I'm trying, right? I'm trying to be a good something. I think that's helpful. Sometimes it's more like I kind of know I am if somebody says that I'm this good thing or that they think I'm a good friend or they think I'm a good listener. It's like I know they're not BSing me, right? I know they're telling me the truth sometimes, but I don't connect with it. I don't quite feel it. So sometimes when you have those negative messages in the background, it just sort of overrides that positive, right? It's hard. Sometimes I've seen it in people and sometimes myself, it feels like the words choke off, right? It's like I can't gut them out. But maybe I could say something like, I'm working on believing that I'm a good person. I'm working on believing that I'm a good friend. Anything is better than just being stuck with the negative messages, right? So we want to shift the way the brain's thinking. So that's why I think that the positive affirmations are really helpful. And it's not just, oh, I'm good and I'm wonderful. It's helping to rewire the brain. Then you add that to doing the esteemable things, and it really starts to come together. Now that we're being kinder to ourselves with our words, let's put some other action to it, right? So the third thing I want you to do is self-care, right? There's a quote, anonymous person who said it, or I've not been able to track it down, but you can't pour from an empty cup, right? You are a resource that you have, right? Your body, your mind, you're the resource you're working with in this life, right? And you need to be a good steward of that. You need to take care of your mind, your body, your spirit. Perhaps maybe if you start treating yourself like you're someone you care about, you may begin to believe it, right? So these go hand in hand with the affirmations too, right? I'm saying the positive affirmations, and then I'm taking care of myself like I believe I'm worth it. Each one of these points could be a whole video in and of itself. So there's a lot of ways to do self-care. Sometimes it's rest, sometimes it's work, sometimes it's going to a therapy, sometimes it's doing the mundane things, getting a shower, brushing your teeth, eating a healthy meal. Sometimes it's doing hard stuff like reaching out and talking to someone when you don't feel like it, or if you need to make some kind of apology or amends and mend the relationship if you've said or done something that's been problematic, and owning up to it and being accountable, right? So it could be good stuff, fun stuff, relaxing stuff. It could be spiritual, or if you don't like that word, connecting with others, with nature. But if you do have some sort of a spiritual or religious background, it could be following those, whatever is a part of that for you, right? Whatever your traditions are. But doing things that feed your spirit, your body, your mind is really important. So it's like they say with the airlines, right? Like if something happens and the oxygen masks fall, if you don't put that mask on yourself first, you might pass out before you can help the people you care about. So you put the mask on yourself. Self-care is needed. It's important. It's not selfish. It's how you take care of your resource. So now that we're dealing with talking better about ourselves, doing better things and being esteemable, and putting it into action with self-care, how are we doing relationally, right? Do I have healthy boundaries? So number 4 is boundaries. So that could be probably several videos, right? And we're going to bring the video to a close pretty soon, but stick around because I have a bonus tip to talk to you about after the boundaries. So how do I have healthy and functional boundaries, right? First off, maybe if people are always pushing your boundaries and they're not really having your best interest at heart, right? Make sure you're hanging out with the people that do, right? If people are always pushing you into doing things you don't want to do, and they're insensitive and they're always having fun at your expense, or whatever it is that's going on, right? Or if you speak up and say I don't like that, and that doesn't bother them, they just keep going and doing what they want. Sometimes it's better to remove yourself from those people, right? Nobody's going to get it right all the time or be perfect, but if they just keep showing you time and time again they don't have your best interest at heart and they're not going to respect your boundaries, find people who will, right? So that's one way. A simple thing you can start to do, simple, not necessarily easy, but learn to say no, right? If something doesn't align with your values, or if it interferes with your self-care, right? If you need the time for yourself, right? Like maybe you need a Saturday evening to rest, and somebody says, "Hey, what are you doing?" And can you help me with this? Or we need to go here or do that. And they think because you don't have anything scheduled, like that it's open and you should do whatever they want you to do, right? It's okay for you to be taking time for yourself, even if it's just to sit at home and rest, right? And they don't need all those details either. Just, I don't know if you know this, but no is a complete sentence. You don't have to justify, right? Hey, can you do this thing Saturday? I can't. No. And leave it at that, depending on who it is in your relationship with them. But certainly if they tend to push boundaries, just no and leave it there. Well, what if they keep asking? Well, you say I'm done talking about this and walk away. Or if it's the phone, I hang up the phone. I'm told now that this is the phone, so I don't know if hanging up is this or what. But you say, okay, I've already said it twice, and you're not hearing me, so I'm going to go ahead and go, right? Because anything more than making a request once, if they just keep pushing it and pushing it, that's manipulation. That's a boundary issue, right? So learn to say no. Practice it. Practice it with safe people too, right? Maybe I say things like, "Hey, are you busy Saturday?" Well, what do you need? And well, I need help moving, right? Okay, well, give me 24 hours to check my calendar and see what I've got going on, and I'll get back to you, right? And that way you're not on the spot. You can think through it, and then you can decide if you want to help or not. But if you're not good at saying no, maybe you need to say it a lot more, right, to get used to it. And that's okay if you're just doing it to practice too, right? Because that will help you when the time comes that it really does matter. So thanks for sticking around this far. I've got one more bonus tip for you, but if you like the video, consider liking, subscribing, and sharing it. I'll have more videos in the weeks to come to discuss probably each one of these points in detail, because each one can be at least a video. So check those out. Remember, life is a marathon. It's not a sprint. It's a long haul that we're in for. So we're just looking for little improvements in these areas, a little bit at a time. So for that final tip, it's gratitude. The bonus tip is gratitude. It's not exactly about self-esteem, but when I'm thinking negatively about myself, it can help to look for the good, right? So I make a list of what you're grateful for and add to it daily, right? Maybe just 1, 2, 3 things each day and add to it. Or maybe journal, if you journal in each day, right? Here's something I'm grateful for. Try finding 2 or 3 things. Big things are great, family and spouse and kids and jobs, and all of these things are important. So that's fair game, but also small things, like I'm just really grateful for my coffee this morning. It's delicious. I enjoyed it. I made it at home. It's good quality coffee that I didn't pay $5 a cup for. I'm enjoying sitting here in my space and getting a start to the day that is not rushed. I'm enjoying my cat's over there looking out the window, and I didn't know I needed a cat when we got him. My daughter needed a place to put our cat, and begged me to not get rid of him. And he's my little buddy. And just seeing him over there looking out the window, um, enjoying his life, um, brings me some gratitude. So the small things are important too, because it can get me in the frame of mind of seeing things to be grateful for everywhere, right? Finding little things throughout my day instead of things that are wrong or problematic or what I don't like, right? So the little things are really helpful too. So that's just another way that we can help train our mind to look for the good. And I don't know your thoughts on what's out there, or the universe, or God or higher power, but I kind of feel like if I can find some things to be grateful for, it's almost like there's something out there that thinks maybe I'm worth that too, right? So I think that kind of boosts the self-esteem too, and kind of works in conjunction with the affirmations, because I think that's kind of like, here's the good things because you deserve them. You are worth having some good things in your life. So gratitude really helps me. So thank you for watching. Have a great rest of your day, and hope to see you next time.